Alright, what you're looking at here is the top of my 1,000-gallon septic tank. I installed this system myself 27 years ago. I had it pumped, I just had it pumped for the second time. This is the clean out cover, it would be called, and of course, me, like probably you, are having trouble maybe flushing your toilet and the water won't go down right. So the first thing you kind of got to diagnose is if your tank is draining properly, or if it's over flooding. So what happened was I found this tank. In order to find the tank, you need to like a solid bar, and you need to go down to the ground and put that bar. When you hear a tank like that, you'll hear that noise, and you'll know you hit your tank. Then you kind of got to go all the way around the perimeter of the tank and try to find out where the middle is, unless you want to dig a massive hole. If you're going to be digging it by hand, as you can see, I found it, and found right where the tank was without digging a massive hole. So that would be the first case. When I dug this up, of course the water came up over top of it, so I knew that it was not draining at all. So that leads me to believe there's possibly like about 3 different problems that were going on. The tank was so full with solids that they were running out the outlet of the tank, which would be this, the outlet, and would be running, the solids would have got into this distribution box, which is this, and if those solids got into here and filled these 6 lines that go out, well, then your system kind of is shot, and you would pretty much need to hire somebody to come in and excavate and install a new system. But thankfully, when I found that system, the tank was overflowing. I knew that the next step was to find this distribution box to see, if this was plugged full of solids. The other issue could be is your ground is totally saturated, your leach field. If that's saturated because it's spring like it is here, you may not be able to handle the water that you're putting in, and the groundwater is just so much that it actually fills back in your tank box here. So, but that isn't my issue. I've installed this 27 years ago, like I said, and it's taken water fine all those years, but it can be an issue sometimes, and things can change. But as you can see, these lines are all clean, and the box was pretty much clean. There was a little bit of sludge at the bottom, but how I saw it was the water was actually underneath these lines, so the water was not even leaching from the big septic tank into this distribution box. So that's an issue. I knew at that point that the line was either clogged, or it was broken, or clogged with roots. Sometimes it could be in cases where roots somehow mess things up. Not that pipe, roots should be able to get in there because it is a solid piece of pipe. As you can see now, it's very, very lightly trickling in, which it normally kind of does in this system. That's the inlet there you're seeing now, the inlet that comes from the septic tank into the distribution box, which distributes the water through the leach field. There's 6 lines, as you can see, I believe. Isn't there 6? Or yeah, there's 1, 2, 3 on that side, 1 at the end, and 2 here. They go down to lateral lines out here, and then they go across in perforated pipe across the lawn. So the issue was, at this point, since I hadn't had the tank pumped in about 18 years, I did need to hire the guy to come pump it. But before he pumped it, we used his, what you call a snake, or a power snake, which like people maybe like Roto-Rooter would do, but it would cost a fortune probably for somebody like that to come out. Now my normal guy that pumps my tank was going to charge me $45, and he took a snake. We used 3 different heads on the snake to try to weed up through this line, but there was nothing in it. We basically got in the line in 15 feet, and it came to a dead stop, which 15 feet is approximately right where this the outlet of the septic tank is right here. So I could tell by even putting my ear down to the ground, the snake was in 15 feet. It came up to about this area, and I knew that we had a problem. The line was broke or fell apart, which is typical kind of sometimes in this setup, and I can explain why in a minute, because when you dig and put this system in, this tank, this 1,000-gallon tank, it's a big hole. In that big hole, you over dig to allow the tank to fit in the hole nicely when you're setting it. And the ground 4 feet underneath this outlet pipe is all ground that's been messed with, and it's all needs to be tamped very tightly, and the pipe needs to be securely held up or it could fall out of the tank. And that's basically what happened. Not 27 years later, after I put it in, it somehow settled throughout the years and got further and further away, which it dropped down about 8 inches. So, of course, once the snake didn't go through, I knew there was a problem here. So again, using my trusty rod, I located the end of this tank so I didn't have to dig again a massive hole and or hire a backhoe to come in and dig. I just hand dug it myself, and yes, it's difficult to work 3 feet down in the ground, but I did it. And I located that pipe. I saw where there was no pipe kind of coming out of the tank. There was a little nub of 2 inches, but what happened was the 45 that I put on there directly off the tank there, it fell off, because it wasn't glued. Not that you really have to glue this type of pipe, but again, it really was kind of my fault, but it's just the typical way you do it. You can't, ground's going to settle 4 feet down, underneath that pipe was all ground that I had disturbed, and it fell, it compacted over the years, and the pipe fell apart, and the system worked fairly well for many, many years. But eventually, I had more people here, and it just would not take the water volume that we were putting into it, and it could not find its way. So what I did was, again, trying to be as cheap as possible, I did not excavate or hire an excavator or a backhoe to come in and dig, as they would have had the whole lawn torn up, and rutted up the lawn and made more of a mess. So it was kind of easier and way more inexpensive for me just to hand dig that myself and do the repair. Now, to do it right, I would have had to take that line out and replace it to the distribution box, which really would have been the right way to do it. In most cases you would do that, but because the line technically fell down about 8 inches, so that means the water potentially had to go uphill for a short span to make it to that box. But that really, water will travel uphill. Water takes the easiest path, and it's easier for water to push that water uphill than for the water to leach out straight up out of the ground 4 feet and on top of the ground. And it's easier for it to do that than to back up in the house in some cases, and in most cases. So that's not really an issue. I had a hand little crank snake, a little baby toy over here that I bought for $4 at the store, and that's a 20-foot cord on there, and I snaked it myself back, because even after he did it, just to clean out just the very end and stuff. So the water's seeping through, but it's not perfect. But will it work? Yes, it will work. And someday will it fail? Possibly, but someday I'll be dead too, and it won't matter. So the next guy can fix it. So eventually, the right way. But of course, if you hired a contractor to come in and dig it, they would be, nobody's going to come in for hardly $1,000 and change that line and cement it up into that box. And so I did it myself with buying 2 pieces of pipe and hooking them together, and I had to pay to get the tank sucked out, but that was due. As most people, even my contractor, the guy that pumps it, the sewer man, said he recommends every 3 years to pump the tank, which that's a good, because that's all money for him. But technically, my tank was there for 18 years of solids in there, and it was nowhere near the top. Was it a lot harder for him to pump out because there was 2 or 3 feet of solids in there? Absolutely. Made his job terrible. But again, that's his job, and there was no reason to pump it. I wouldn't probably recommend somebody doing 18 years, but it's possible, very possible, to not have to do it, So this tank box was absolutely shot. But again, instead of changing this box, which would have been a lot of money for a contractor to come in and try to change, and even for me it would have been work. I would have had to dig this all out and try to install a new box around these lines. So I got a bag of Portland cement and mixed it up and cemented it up, and I'll continue to do a little more work. It's ugly. It's about as bad as you could possibly get. The sides are ready to crumble, but it works. And will it continue to work? Absolutely. If it crumbles and falls in, is it going to destroy my system? No, not really. It'll just have to be fixed at that time. But you know, it's been in here for 27 years and it'll continue to work. I will put a top on it. The top that's broken too, oh, that needs to be replaced. No, it doesn't. It's been broke for who knows how many years. Put it on there, lay some plastic over top of it, and mark these corners with stakes that come up, and try not to run it over with my motorhome like I have been for many years. You know, this is actually my pad that I have right here off my driveway that my motorhome sets right up. So I've been running it over with my motorhome right there, right on the spot. It's terrible, but now I shouldn't do that, and I won't do that for the most part, because you know, you shouldn't be running over this stuff anyway with even a car. But you know, I need to be more careful now that I've located it. I haven't had to dig this up in all the years since I installed it. So, and like I said, I had to dig up the tank one time, and had the contractor, or not contractor, but you know, the sewer guy pump it. But I had forgotten where that was after so many years. I didn't even know. So again, I had to take the bar and go all over, because I couldn't locate it on my plot plan very well. And just forgot where it was. So that's basically what could be your issue too. If your water is not draining, you know, out, you need to, there's a few things you can do on your own. Is it work? Yeah. Is it fun? Yeah. No. Is it dirty? Yeah. But